Hello, and welcome back to Fedora Fiction Podcast's YouTube edition. YouTube edition. That's the thing when you're doing live recordings, you get all the mistakes. We are reading from Throwback Book 1, Aries Triumphant. We are on Chapter 4, and Chapter 4 is called First Steps. It did not take long for O'Shea to grow restless, confined as he was to the habitat. He spent many hours combing through communication logs for some clues as to what had transpired over the 3 millennia. But it was as Lima had reported to him. Her attempts, O'Shea had already begun thinking of Lima as she, at establishing contact with Mission Control went unacknowledged, despite the usual chatter from routine orbital and interplanetary missions. Even this routine chatter seemed to have stopped abruptly 52 years after their launch. Lima had exercised due diligence in scanning the spectra dedicated to civilian communication and entertainment and found even those silent after 52 years. What little Lima had been able to capture and record of these were fragmentary and faint, but O'Shea thought he detected a sense of growing hysteria leading up to the abrupt silence. The silent treatment also appeared to be what he was getting from his Martian house, although, as Lima reported, they were never really silent, just not concerned with O'Shea and his situation. Through Lima, he had made repeated attempts to contact someone with authority, and according to Lima, those attempts were simply ignored. After 2 days of this, O'Shea had had enough. A wise man once said that it was better to ask forgiveness than to beg for permission. He remarked grimly, "Lima, what time is it?" "It is 9:38 a.m. local time, so we have several hours left of daylight." "Yes, it is late summer, so the days are getting shorter, but sunset will not be until 7:28 p.m. local time." "Why?" "I forgot to do the accent. I thought I'd go for a walk." Wow. Okay, sorry about this. Technical issues. You're getting my breathing too hard. So let me start back further. "Yes, it is late summer, so the days are getting shorter, but sunset will not be until 7:28 p.m. local time." "Why?" "I thought I'd go for a walk." "You'd better bundle up then. It is cold out there, minus 83 degrees Celsius." "As I recall," O'Shea responded, "the habitat was equipped with EVA suits." "Yes," Lima replied, "but I think their warranty has expired." "Well, it's not as if we can order new ones." O'Shea walked to the area just outside of an airlock. "I'd feel better if we could test these," he said, opening a locker and pulling out a helmet and pressure suit. "A visual inspection will have to do." He examined the suit carefully, and finding nothing to concern him, pulled it on, noting with satisfaction that the automatic seal seemed to be functioning. He turned the helmet's communication device on and put it over his head and listened as the seals seated on that. "Lima," he asked aloud, "do you read me?" "Loud and clear," she responded. From her voice, it sounded like she was in the suit with O'Shea. "Running a remote diagnostic. All appears in order," she concluded after a brief pause. "Here goes," O'Shea said a bit nervously. "Lima, open the inner door to the airlock, please." "Certainly." A heavy paneled door slid open, and O'Shea stepped into the airlock. "Close the inner door and evacuate the airlock, please, but slowly." "As you wish." The door closed, and O'Shea waited. "Are you evacuating the airlock?" "Yes, but slowly, as you asked." "How slowly?" 1% of atmospheric pressure per minute. Okay, O'Shea said with forced patience. That's too slow. Increase the rate to 10% per minute. As you wish. You're recapturing this atmosphere, right? O'Shea asked. Of course. Lima sounded petulant that he had to ask. O'Shea could feel the suit's heater coming on, and the laser-projected readout on his visor told him the atmospheric pressure was dropping. How's it going in there? Lima asked from inside his helmet. No leaks detected. Heat is on, he reported. Good. Airlock pressure is now equal to exterior pressure. Okay. O'Shea paced within the airlock, flexing his limbs. Seals holding, he reported. Open the exterior door, please. Certainly. The exterior door slid open, and O'Shea stepped out into a gray kind of twilight. I thought you said it was morning, he asked Lima. It is 10:17 local time, she replied. Then why is it so dim? We are under at least 400 meters of ice, Lima reminded him. Activate my headlamps, please. The lights came on, and O'Shea could see as he walked around the outside of the habitat that they were indeed in a cavern of ice with several tunnels leading away from it. The outside of the habitat looks good, he noted aloud. Why are we under the ice and not on the surface? I thought it prudent that the habitat be located under the ice if it were to be located anywhere. The ice provides a very effective shield against cosmic radiation. O'Shea walked away from the habitat to examine the cavern walls. This is a man-made space, he observed. There are still marks of machinery on the ice. Yes, I believe this to be an abandoned mine. And indeed, the archives indicate this area was deemed promising for the recovery of ice containing heavy water. O'Shea walked to the opening of one of the tunnels and peered into it. I wonder where this leads, he mused. Lima, are there any maps or plans of these tunnels? I'm afraid my archives predate their construction. I do know that the tunnel to your left leads to the surface, as that is the one the offloading drone brought us down. Is that drone still here? We might have some use for it. It returned to the cargo shuttle as programmed. I see, O'Shea sighed. He took a few steps into the tunnel in front of him and stopped. Lima, did you say that you could communicate with the transport? Yes, it is in synchronous orbit on the cargo station. Do you think I could communicate with the transport? I don't know. It doesn't really have a lot to say. What I meant, O'Shea said with the effort of patience, was, would a signal from my EVA suit get to the transport? Through the ice? Yes. Not routed through me? Not routed through you. Why would you want to do that? Was that something I said? No, O'Shea said. You want to use the transport to triangulate your signal with me at the habitat so that we can create a survey map of the tunnels. Yes, exactly. O'Shea took a few more steps into the tunnel. No. He stopped. No what? You can't communicate directly with the transport. The signal from your EVA suit is too weak to get through the ice. He continued down the tunnel. We'll have to figure out a way to boost it then. The tunnel was roughly 4 meters in diameter and appeared to slope downward. The walls were smooth unless examined carefully, and then thin parallel lines betrayed their artificial origins. O'Shea had to remind himself that what he walked on and through was ice, as it resembled marble more than the slippery stuff he knew from Earth. The slope to the floor was gradual enough he could see 100 meters down the tunnel, and in 200 meters, all he had seen was tunnel. Lima? Yes, Dr. O'Shea. Are you recording this? The helmet cams have been operational, yes, I must say. It's hardly Academy Award material. O'Shea shook his head inside the helmet. Never mind. It will be good to have a visual record when we do conduct the survey. As you wish. O'Shea proceeded down the tunnel another 100 meters and checked his oxygen supply and the battery life on the EVA suit. He estimated he couldn't go He estimated he could go another kilometer before having to turn back. He continued down the tunnel. Lima was right. The tunnel was monotonous, an endless grayish white space that went on and on. O'Shea was about to come up on his kilometer when an aberration in the monotony appeared in the distance. A large object sat in the middle of the tunnel, 100 meters off. From the covering of ice crystals, O'Shea deduced the object had been sitting there for a long time. He chanced the extra 100 meters to examine it. As he got closer, you could see that it was a transport of some kind, as it rested on 4 metallic studded wheels and had a cargo bed. Once he was close enough, he wiped frost from its instrument panel. "Lima," he asked, "are you getting this?" "Yes, the VO-feed is operational." "It looks like a variation of our AT-100. Please compare files." "Comparison complete." "What took so long?" "Oh, you're so sweet. This does appear to be in the AT line, although from the instrument panel it appears to be a hybrid of the 100 and the 101. "You mean it has a fuel cell and battery?" "It would appear so." O'Shea leaned over the panel again and wiped away more frost. "Well, it looks like the battery is dead. No surprise there. And yes, the fuel tanks are empty." He moved his heavily gloved hand along the lines of the machine until he found a latch, which he was only able to open with some effort. "No," he corrected himself. "Fuel tanks are missing." "Perhaps that's why it was abandoned," Lima speculated. "It was no longer functional." "Is it not functional because it is out of juice, or for some other reason?" O'Shea wondered. "I don't have sufficient data to answer that question," Lima replied, sounding a bit defensive. "No, of course you don't. I was just thinking out loud," O'Shea assured her. "I wish there was some way to get this back to the habitat so I could get a good look at it." "We can discuss this once you're back at the habitat," Lima said emphatically. "Your batteries are below 50% and your atmosphere is going toxic. There is still a margin of safety, but it is thin. Time to come back inside." "Oh, Mom, do I have to?" "Only if you don't want to freeze to death or die of asphyxiation," Lima replied sternly. "And I'm not your mother." All right, I'm coming." O'Shea moved back along the tunnel he had just walked down. "What do you make of this ice, Lima? It looks more like stone than ice." "Well, ice is a mineral," Lima pointed out, "but I think that the appearance is due to impurities. It is very likely that most of what you're seeing is a mixture of water, ice, dry ice, and dust." "Carbon dioxide," O'Shea nodded in his helmet. "That would explain the marbled appearance." "Yes." O'Shea's purposeful strides brought him back to the habitat sooner than he expected. He stood outside the airlock doors. "Open the doors, please, Lima." "I'm sorry, Dave," a deep molasses tone voice sounded in his helmet. "I can't do that." "What?" "Lima, stop messing around and open the doors." Okay, Lima sounded exasperated. "I was just teasing." "Well, it's not funny." The exterior door slid open and O'Shea stepped inside, the doors closing behind him. The readout in his helmet indicated increasing atmospheric pressure and temperature back in the airlock. "Oh, so it's only funny when you tease?" Lima asked irritably. O'Shea removed the helmet and walked through the now open interior door. "I tease you about things you do well," he retorted just as irritably, "not about threatening you with death." Lima appeared to consider this a moment, as there was no immediate reply. "Yes," she said finally, "I see the difference. Will you ever forgive me?" "I already have," O'Shea assured her. "Now, how are we going to boost the signal from the EVA suit so that we can use the transport to map the tunnels?" He began the process of removing the EVA suit. "As your excursion just demonstrated, the power array in the suits is taxed enough just keeping you alive," Lima observed. "Using power to boost your signal will only shorten the time of your excursions." "So you suggest a separate transmitter with its own power supply," O'Shea concluded as he walked into the kitchen area to rehydrate his lunch. "Or improve the capabilities of the EVA suit," Lima replied. "But do we have the means to do either?" O'Shea asked, removing his meal from the rehydrating unit. "I can't recall the exact inventory of every unit." This unit isn't equipped for such modifications. There is only one generator, and it is the hydrogen cell unit, and the only other transmitters are in the other EVA suits and in the habitat. There's the fusion generator I was going to use for the magnetic field, O'Shea recalls. I assume that's still on transport. Yes, as is all the other equipment apart from the habitat. How well did the automated cargo system work getting me down here? O'Shea sat down to eat his meal. Well enough, Lima replied. I had to clean up some of the code as it become corrupted after so long. No doubt, O'Shea nodded. Do you think we can get the magnetic field unit down, along with one of the biosphere units? I don't see why not, unless our hosts object. Have you detected any ability on their part to stop us? Actually, no. Good, O'Shea said, taking another bite from his lunch. Let's get the magnetic field unit and an agricultural unit down here ASAP. An agricultural unit? Yes, O'Shea replied, standing to clean up after his meal. I need to get some crops on the ground. This 3,000-year-old dehydrated stuff leaves a lot to be desired. You should have protein and carbohydrate pate from the Nutrorumen in 2 more days. That will be fresh. Yes, O'Shea allowed dryly, but it will be from the Nutrorumen. Obviously, Luma replied, audibly perplexed. Besides, aren't the ag units designed to be set up on the surface? O'Shea nodded. That's true. How long is that tunnel to the surface? 3.86 kilometers. That's a long commute in an EVA suit, O'Shea remarked thoughtfully. Do you think you can convince a cargo drone to fetch the transport? I don't know, Lima replied. They're not very bright. You're smart enough for the 2 of you, I'm sure. I hope you're right, boss. I have to be, O'Shea replied, or I'm pretty much screwed. All right, that's Chapter 4 of Throwback Book 1, Ares Triumphant. Thank you for listening. As I've mentioned before, both Book 1 and Book 2 of Throwback are available at amazon.com/author/Tom Goss. I'm Tom Goss, your host. Thanks for listening.